the way things are now on the internet and what you can and cannot do and say, like the whole PC culture of everything at the minute, would that title alone be enough to start online petitions against this series? Hey guys, welcome along to episode 5 of season 1 of Transformers. What I said at the start there was, I'm just thinking about it now as I was starting this video. The episode is called Roll For It, and this episode is, if you know Transformers, Optimus Prime always has the thing transform and roll out. The hero of this episode is a guy called Chip Chase, who is a genius, but he is in a wheelchair. And I'm just thinking, when I was just setting up the teleprompter here and looked at the title of it, I was just thinking, the way things are now on the internet and what you can and cannot do and say, like the whole PC culture of everything at the minute, would that title alone be enough to start online petitions against this series if it had happened today? Because it rolled for it, and it would make more sense if you see the episode itself. But essentially at the end of this episode, Megatron gets defeated, and it's all because of this kid in a wheelchair. And yes, it's just a random thought that I had while starting this video. So the episode itself, at the end of the last one, of course, Megatron gets accidentally sucked through the space bridge. Starscream took command of the Decepticons, and he's making the most of Megatron's absence. He's leading Decepticons and stealing more energy. They're having skirmishes with the Autobots, but without Megatron, they're coming off the worst now. The Autobots are kind of walking all over them at this stage. In this fight, every Energon cube that they made, they lost, and they get driven off by the Autobots. Up in Cybertron, Megatron, he's formulating a new plan to steal antimatter from a lab. So he radios Earth, lets the Decepticons know, I'm not dead, I'm alright, I'll be back shortly, get yourself sorted, we're going to go and steal this antimatter. So Megatron comes across the space bridge. We cut from that there, and we meet this guy, Chip Chase, who's a friend of Spike's, and they're going to this lab that creates the antimatter. Chip doesn't work there, but he's a teenage genius, and at some point he really did help the scientists there and making the discoveries to actually create antimatter. So we get in there, we see all that there happening, we get the background of that, and the guy that runs the lab gives Chip a disc, one of those wee discs that you used to put on the computers. Not discs as in CD type discs, but the actual like wee memory discs that you used to get that I don't think no longer exist. Yes, digressing completely. Basically, this gives him the ability to access the lab's computers from his home computer. So there's a lot of internet-y type stuff in this episode as well. Again, this is 1984. This was made. Starscream and the rest of the jet fighter plane Transformer Decepticons, like Thundercracker and Skywarp, Soundwave's there as well. They're at an Air Force base, and like they're stripping plane parts to repair themselves after the fleecing they got off the Autobots at the start. The Autobots hunt them down. Again, Prowl's on there fighting against them. He takes a shot that knocks out his battle computer, so he's kind of he can't control his body enough to actually fight. So he calls out for help, hoping another Autobot's going to hear him, but Chip hears him at his home, and through the internet, through his computer, through the internet for this episode, he's able to log into Prowl's battle computer. He takes over control of Prowl's body and fights off the Decepticons for him. Starscream and Soundwave escape, and Megatron and the other Decepticons. I'm trying to remember. I have some notes here on the teleprompter, but there's something bugging me here that I'm missing that aren't on those notes. Basically, after Soundwave and Starscream, Thundercracker and Skywarp are driven off by Prowl, being controlled by Chip. While that's happening, Megatron and the other Decepticons have gotten to the lab, but the lab has already been warned by Chip that this is going to happen. That's the part I'm missing. I can't connect how Chip got the information in the first place so he could warn the lab, but essentially the lab gets warned that that's going to happen. No, sorry, completely wrong. Chip didn't warn him at this stage. The lab's seen the Decepticons coming to attack, and that before the Decepticons got into the lab, they sent Chip the plans to the formula to antimatter and deleted it off the computers in the lab. So the Decepticons get there, the place is completely dry, and Megatron calls out to Starscream and whatnot. They track down where it's at. Of course, they go to Chip's house, kidnap him. Before he gets kidnapped, though, he deletes his computer, but he's got a photographic memory, and he memorizes the formula. So he gets taken back to the lab, and all the Decepticons are on there. Soundwave has the ability to get the formula out of Chip's mind. He can read his mind, gets the formula, and starts to recreate the formula for the antimatter. So yeah, I hope this is making sense to you guys. The wheels kind of fell off it there for a second. The Autobots, of course, they're coming to try and rescue Chip and stop the Decepticons again. The Decepticons are successfully making antimatter at this stage, and through Hound and Mirage and Bumblebee, they manage to, again, using the powers of disability and holograms, they're able to get into the lab, basically save Chip, and that frees up the Autobots to get in there, start a fight. But during the battle, Megatron lifts an energon cube that is made out of pure antimatter, and he throws it across the lab. There's a huge explosion that pretty much destroys everything. We cut from that to the Autobots coming out, battered and bruised, scratched, holes all over their bodies and everything. They're in bad shape. They call a retreat this time, head back to base. Decepticons are on the winning foot again now that Megatron's back. So Megatron's like, right, we're going to use this antimatter. We're going to finish the Autobots off once and for all. So they set up an attack on the Ark. The Autobots are on there trying to carry out repairs on themselves. And Megatron has charged himself up with antimatter. So the battle begins. Megatron transforms into a handheld gun, which was always something that was kind of weird to me in Generation 1 Transformers, because, and I do remember reading somewhere that when they were coming up with the idea for what they were going to transform into, the Autobots, of course, all cars and trucks and whatnot, automobile. Decepticons were jets and all that sort of thing. But for Megatron, they wanted something that was threatening. His transformation had to be something that held a lot of fear. And back in '84, probably one of the biggest fears that we had back then was guns, handheld guns and whatnot. So that's what his transformation is in this. But it always did come across as a little bit weird that, you know, what's the point of a transformation where you need to constantly be relying on someone to actually hold you and shoot you? But I digress. He's charged up, full of antimatter, so he transforms. Starscream takes him in hand, and he's taking out like 5 or 6 Autobots in a shot. Like the power Megatron is pumping out is insane by the end of this episode. But Chip, being the genius that he is, along with Ratchet, have come up with an idea to take control of one of the Decepticons using like a little remote device that they can connect to them. Can connect to a Decepticon and take over control of their body, essentially. By the end of the fight, Megatron ends up in the hands of Thundercracker, I do believe. It's either Thundercracker or Skywarp. One or two. They're very similar. Like, they look exactly the same, they're just different colours. So, Spike comes out, distracts Skywarp. Skywarp lifts him in hand, like it's just a wee body sticking out of his hand with this here, and he puts Megatron's gun to his head and says, I'm going to take you out. While he's doing that, Chip rolls out. The name of the series, Roll for it. He's in his wheelchair, he's going to town on it, I guess here. He gets over, plants the thing on the Skywarp's leg, and Skywarp is taken over by the Autobots, and like he's kind of shooting at Decepticons at this point. Megatron transforms, jumps out of his hand. This is but enough time for the Autobots that the antimatter Megatron charged himself up with is heading for ignition temperature, which means he needs to get out of his body before it destroys him. So he takes off into the air. His chest panels open up and all these cubes start flying out. But at the last second, there's a huge explosion that sort of just takes out him and the rest of the Decepticons. They're in bad shape now. They have to call a retreat. And Chip is hailed as the big hero of the day. And the Autobots just they're kind of celebrating that, you know, if it wasn't for you, we'd be dead and whatnot. And we cut to the Decepticons, they're flying off in the air. Megatron is battered and bruised, and scratched and dirt, and, you know, just looking like he's just ready to fall apart, basically. And he's just like, a small child came between me and complete domination of the entire galaxy today. I will be back. So that's where the episode finishes off at. I love these sorts of stories where the thing that changes it at the end of the day isn't the Autobots, isn't the main characters. It's something simple that a human or somebody's done, some little minor character that you wouldn't think would have the power to change anything, changes the entire flow of the battle and wins the day for them. And the fact that this little guy is in a wheelchair as well is, you know, really, I don't want to say remarkable, because, you know, that sounds bad in a way. Like, you know, the last person you would have expected out of the humans in this series would be the guy in the wheelchair to actually be the big hero at the end of the day. That's such a, I don't even know what way to put it, but that's why I did say at the start, I was wondering if this series was actually aired for the very first time today, would the title Roll for it actually start any online petitions against the series, because it sounds bad, because they're talking about, they're essentially referring to this guy's wheelchair. Roll for it. And, you know, probably reading a lot more into it than what there actually is, and yeah, I do believe that is the case. But today, what it is, you need to be very careful about what you say online, because once you start offending people, it doesn't take much to do it these days, really. So yes, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Can you see the sweat rolling out of me? we're having a heat wave here, and I have a studio light here, another one here, and there's one right behind me here. It's killing me altogether. I'm going to get off here, drink some water, chill out. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up, share it along, do all that good social media stuff. You're legends. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please hit that subscription button and don't forget to press that bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Please get into the description box below this video and check out my social media links down there and check out all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video.